I'm going to present our beloved president and colleague, Holly, who's going to give us some wonderful information now.
Thank you, Kiki.
Round of applause.
So welcome, everybody. All of you who are practitioners are manifestors. Every time a client walks in your office with a goal in mind, it's your job to support them in manifesting their goal. And you probably have a lot of different skills that you're already using to support that. And everyone who is here with our Zoom group is a manifestor in their own private life, because this 3D reality is being manifested all the time by our consciousness. And have you ever noticed that we all live on the same planet, but we don't always live in the same reality? That's because we're all manifesting our own realities all the time. And in our culture, we're seeing that a lot these days, that we have so many different viewpoints about what reality is and how it can create a lot of chaos. So what I'm going to present today is what I've discovered on my own journey as the ultimate realities through expansion of consciousness. And I want to give kudos to this beautiful book I've been reading. I've been immersed in it through a year-long program that I'm a student in right now on consciousness and the mystical traditions for the whole planet. And this is a book about consciousness by a man named Prem Das. I've got this in the reading list at the end, about a man named Sri Aurobindo, who was alive in the 20th century, who went on a spiritual journey that took him way beyond what we understand cosmic consciousness is. And from his enlightened state, he has some very amazing things to share about where we're all headed as we are evolving in consciousness on planet Earth. So I'm going to share some of his insights and experiences specifically around consciousness and manifesting in this 3D reality that may be helpful for you to understand. And I'm curious, how many of you have done conscious manifesting before? You've had goals that you've consciously worked on. Some of you? Okay. And of those of you who've done that conscious manifesting, how many of you have had success doing it? How many of you have had things that just didn't work out? They're both. They're always both. And I'm going to discuss why. What sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And I'm going to start by sharing some of my own manifesting experiences with you. And this one actually involves my husband, Paul. And he and I were on a vacation in Sedona, and we were doing a self-guided tour on one of the mesas that is known for having powerful energies. They call them vortexes. And it was a fall day, and all of a sudden it got really cloudy and there was a thunder shower. And we knew it wasn't smart to be out in the thunder and lightning. So we hiked our way back to the parking lot, where there was also a facility that had a restaurant and a bar on it. This was part of a motel, a beautiful motel area on one of the mesas. And we walked in the bar to get a latte, which in those days is something we did a lot of. And they couldn't make us a latte because the electricity was off because of the lightning. And Paul stood at the bar and said, "We'd like to order a latte." And he says, "I can't do that, sir. We don't have any electricity." And Paul says, "I'm going to count to 5. And by the count of 5, the electricity's coming on." And everybody in the bar kind of looked at him like he was crazy. He counted to 5 and the electricity went on. And the kinds of things that Paul's audacious nature is to do stuff like this on a regular basis. And it's been nothing short of a miracle to me to watch how this guy can go through his daily life and make these audacious statements and have these incredible things happen. There's more than one time, believe me. So that's an example of instant manifesting. And then in contrast, in the early 2000s, he and I decided in our 50s, we were going to build our dream house. And we live in a 2-bedroom townhouse that's quite modest, very lovely, but quite modest. And we took some money out of our townhouse and we bought some beautiful property that was right on the border of 80 acres of parkland. And we came up with all these designs that we had an architect do for us. And we had to get a sewer line put in that was 800 feet of sewer before they'd even let us build a house. And 14 neighbors on the road were going to benefit from this sewer line that we paid for. And they had paid some of it, but we ended up paying for it. And then we had to figure out how to get a driveway on our property to come over the parkland. We had to pay for an easement to get on the parkland, which was almost unheard of that the parkland would give somebody an easement to put a driveway on it. But we agreed to fix some problems they were having with runoff that they didn't want to fix. So we were going to fix that for them. And then by the time we were ready to build and go through the whole last process, it was 2006 when the recession happened. And up to that point, I had done everything that I knew to manifest this house. I prayed, I did self-hypnosis, I had a geomancer on the property, I had a shaman come up and bless it. I would go up there and do rituals. I would bless the trees. We had 350-year-old oak trees on this property. I was gung-ho, and I was getting my doctorate at this time, and I was thinking about writing my doctorate dissertation on building a house and the metaphor of building a house, thinking about Carl Jung and how he wrote his metaphor about building a house in his 40s. And I was totally into this with my husband and I. We were just delighted. And then when the recession began, we started to look at the bottom line of what it was going to cost us to build this dream house. And we thought, we are freaking crazy doing this. This isn't going to happen. And we got really scared. And that was the time when the music business, that Paul's a musician and an artist, was going downhill because CDs were no longer, nobody's interested in buying CDs at shows anymore. Everything was getting electronic. So we really, really had a struggle with this. And we finally decided we had to let it go. We had to let it go and sell the property. And during this process of my grieving, I did some past life work. And what I discovered was, in a past life, I had been a conquistador in California, in the Bay Area where there are a lot of native tribes. And I was driven to steal property from the natives for the queen. And I had this job, which I didn't really like because I had fallen in love with one of the women in the tribe, totally in love with her. And I had to make a decision of either betraying her and my love for her or going against the queen. And I knew if I went against the queen, I'd lose my life. So I decided to betray this woman that I was in love with. I stole her property for the queen. I don't know, from there on, I don't have any details of the past life. But what I realized was this lifetime, the karma around that was to have this property and then lose it myself. And all of that made total sense to me. And I came to some really deep peace and understanding about why things don't always manifest when you want them to. And from that, I also had a gift, which was I got enough money, Paul and I got enough money out of selling our property at that point that we paid off our townhouse. And we've been living in our 2-bedroom townhouse ever since with no mortgage. So that was a silver lining. But I want to share that story because we don't always know what's behind the scenes when we want to manifest, especially when we're doing it from our personal, more egoic needs. And I'm going to talk a lot about the difference between asking through higher self, asking through spirit, versus acting through your personal egoic needs, and how different the outcomes can be with those two aspects of cosmic marketing or personal intentional marketing. I also want to just share that there's a fabulous tool that I've discovered, and I'm going to give it to you at the end as one of the resources, which is a book by a man named Brand called Angel Magic. And actually there's somebody here today who introduced me to Angel Magic. One of my students and colleagues, Bill Yarbrough, introduced me to the book because he'd been using it very successfully, and I started using it. And I've done angel magic by singing to the angels, because you sing the angels' names, you call them forth, and you ask them to bring wonderful, positive things to your life. And I've used it for myself very successfully, for my business, for my family, and I've also used it for my clients. And I've had experiences with clients that are nothing short of miracles working with angel magic, along with the types of therapy and support I can provide them. So I want to just tickle you a little bit to look into this for yourself. If you go online on Amazon and look for the book, there are hundreds of people who've written testimonies about how it works. So one of the things I'll talk about today is doing angel magic with the help of intermediaries. Don't just do it from your own higher self. Connect with beings that are more evolved, that are more awakened, that are working on more subtle levels of consciousness, because they can be super helpful and super resources in bringing the refinement of the energy of manifesting down. So I'm going to move now into bringing up my PowerPoint. And I want to thank husband Paul for helping me with this, because he did a lot of work on this for me. Okay, this is about cosmic manifesting. And I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of quantum physics. Not my area of expertise, but I've done my homework. So what I'm going to share with you is about the quantum physics aspect of manifesting. So I'm going to have to get this off of there because I can't see my screen with you guys on there. Let's see. I can't read it. I don't know how to get my images off the side here for everybody. So you can read it, hopefully. Can you see it? Is there some part of it cut off?
No, it's
No.
clear.
Okay.
Looks good.
Okay. So our thoughts are electric and our emotions. Oh, wait, I missed one. I gotta go back. Here. Quantum physics purports that physical matter arises from non-physical waves of energy. Our thoughts, called waves of energy, to condense and become matter. Just like how an atom's nucleus is surrounded by a non-physical field, we are surrounded by a non-physical field of infinite energy. This is the quantum field. Our physical universe manifests out of the quantum field. The Buddhists call this our true nature. The Taoists call it the Tao. The Christians call it God. And Sri Aurobindo calls this the supramental level of consciousness. And I'm going to ask all of you to have your mics on mute while I'm doing this. So we don't get any other sounds. And when we do our end question and answer, you can open them up. Entanglement was defined by Albert Einstein as spooky action at a distance. And entanglement is hugely important when we talk about manifesting. Our thoughts are electric and our emotions are magnetic, which together create an electromagnetic field around everything. Our electromagnetic field is always communicating with the quantum field, creating our current reality. The quantum field is alive with consciousness. Manifestation occurs beyond time and space through the entanglement that connects our frequencies or waves of intention or consciousness with the particle of an atom to vibrate into manifestation. So it starts on this energetic level. And it involves the law of attraction. The law of attraction explains that if we change our electromagnetic fields, we will attract a new reality from the quantum field. The frequency of the thoughts must match the frequency of the feelings behind the thoughts for intentional manifestation to occur. In other words, our electromagnetic field must be in alignment with our intentions for intended manifestations to occur. And the more evolved our consciousness, the closer to source the frequency of, the closer to source is our frequency of our intention. There are many ways that our intentions and our field are not always in alignment. Sometimes the alignment of the frequencies between our thoughts and feelings cannot be sustained long enough for the manifestation to occur. Just forget it. We can unconsciously disrupt our manifestation. Most of the time it is unconscious. There are a number of ways that we unconsciously disrupt the frequencies between our thoughts and emotions that will affect the success of our manifesting. Thankfully, there are tools to help us resolve the misalignments and bring our thoughts and emotions into coherence. Now, in my work and in this presentation today, I'm going to really accentuate this diagram, which comes from PMH Atwater. I don't know if you guys know her. She's done a lot of writing about past lives. She's done writing about other metaphysical things. This particular thing came out of a book she wrote about rune goddesses, the Goddess Rune book. And I was in contact with her when I wrote my self-hypnosis, my script book, to get her permission to publish this in my book. And so I know I have her permission to publish it today as well. And she has a beautiful way of making a very clear distinction between the egoic voices, or the egoic consciousness, and the voice of the higher self, or the higher self-consciousness. And I use this with my clients. I use it with my students. As a matter of fact, this is the first page of my whole training manual in hypnotherapy, because I call this the prime directive of doing psychospiritual work. We have to have a way to make a distinction between our egoic voices, like our inner critic, for instance, and our higher self. And this gives us an opportunity to look at those contrasts. So the lesser mind, or the ego, would be manifesting through all these lower mind aspects: flattering, commanding, demanding, testing, limiting choices, imprisoning, promoting dependency, intruding, pushing. You can read all of them. Being status oriented. Excuse me. And that's contrasted with the higher self, which is more expanded. It informs, suggests, guides, nudges, empowers, promotes independence, respects, supports. So what we're trying to cultivate in our manifesting skill is using this voice of the higher self as the declaration, to intend from this place within ourselves versus from an ego place. For instance, wanting a new red Mustang because it gives you a sense of flash and a sense of egoic puffed upness might not be the way to try to manifest a new car. You might want to manifest a car that's going to be more appropriate for where we are experiencing climate problems and gas problems and wanting to make changes, and maybe having more of a modest perspective on it rather than having to have the flashes and the grandiosity. Of course, it's everybody's freedom to choose that. So you can manifest from whatever level you want, but we're going to talk about the higher levels today. So what are the blocks? There are many. The first one is this ego-based request versus a higher self-generated request, or a request that's insincere. I've heard many stories about people who manifest things and then they're upset that they've manifested them because they didn't really think through what they were asking for. So be careful what you ask for is one of the adages I hear a lot. And that's true. Be careful what you ask for, because you may actually get it. And then you're going to have to live with what you've decided to generate. And another area is because our thoughts and our emotions about the goal are in conflict. And this is where your hypnotherapy skills come in, to look at the head and the heart and whether they're on the same page or they're in conflict with each other. Many people have struggled with this. Limiting and negative beliefs are the undercurrents, the beliefs that you're not worthy, that you don't deserve something, or maybe the belief is on the other side where you feel entitled all the time. So working with any limitations that are on a belief level are really important to clear before you start doing the manifesting, because they're going to block it or create an insincerely generated response from the manifesting. Anyone who has core issues that have not yet been addressed. Example, you want to manifest a whole and healthy relationship, but you don't do your work on your core issues, your limiting beliefs, and your trauma triggers to be a healthy partner for yourself or others. So manifesting isn't a passive thing. You've got to engage in your life process and do the work I remember a story, a Sufi story about this man who prayed and prayed for a camel, and he got his camel, but the camel disappeared because he forgot to tie up the camel. You've got to tie up the camel, so to speak, in your life and do the work. Take responsibility. And then the inability to let go after you do the manifesting process, to be obsessing about it or to be ruminating about it all the time is going to disrupt that quantum field where you've released the intention. It's going to keep tweaking with it if you don't keep a clear, focused after set of consciousness after you do the manifestation. And being unwilling to show up and do your part, to follow the clues and the synchronicities that are part of the manifesting journey. I had a class in manifesting years ago where the woman said, after you do your intentions, then you've got to do a treasure hunt. Life will bring little clues and little surprises to you that are synchronicities, and you need to be awake to those and follow those. Because the manifesting is in process when that's going on. It's leading you on the journey to find the prize at the end. Passivity requires that you participate in manifesting. You're going to live your life as if it's true. And your behaviors are incongruent for what you want. For example, you want to manifest a full practice and you do nothing on a practical level to gain skills, to do outreach, to do advertising, networking, and practice building. You just want them to show up. It doesn't usually work that way. And then there's a whole issue of the frequencies of determinism versus free will, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and how there may be determinism and karma that's affecting your manifesting, because we are in a dualistic 3D dimension of opposites. And we are bound to the laws like gravity, like cause and effect and karma in this 3D dimension until we can expand out of 3D into fourth or fifth dimension consciousness to be closer to the frequency of source. And manifesting from the frequency of source is really the ultimate goal, because when you're enlightened, there's nothing you need to manifest. Everything you have is right here in the now. You are in total one-ment and fulfillment. And so what in lower frequencies you were manifesting or working towards really don't even usually become relevant at that point in your evolution. That doesn't mean you don't have preferences and don't mean you want to make differences in the world, but it's not coming from the same place as when you're doing manifesting for your personal needs. So how do we clear these blocks? How can we move through these potential problem areas? Well, regression therapy is a fabulous source. Go back to the source. Go back to the source of the blocks. If you know the block is a negative thought process, go back to where that block began, whether it's present life or past life. Do inner child and inner life work to understand and heal traumas and life lessons behind your limiting beliefs. Explore your Akashic records and hypnosis and have a clear understanding of what your purpose is for this lifetime. And knowing that purpose is what you're manifesting in alignment with that or not. Doing skill rehearsal. Acting as if is always a good hypnotic process to reinforce people's intentions. And future life progression to a timeline to experience the desired outcome, and then looking back on that timeline to see the steps you've taken to get there. And I would recommend you also take some time to look into the work of a woman named Byron Katie, if you haven't been exposed to her work yet. I've got a reference for you at the end. She developed a process called the work out of her own awakening. And the work is a beautiful process to help people take back their projections, to not be a victim of their life anymore, and to realize that people can realize through her work that we are creating our own realities. And when people start to take responsibility for realizing this, their life changes. They're participating from a whole different level rather than from a victim level. And then I work with some therapy tools that are bilateral stimulation or EMDR that are really helpful in dealing with trauma and dealing with negative and limiting beliefs, because it actually rewires the synapses of the brain. So it opens up the possibilities for more freedom for people to work with these modalities. And then I mentioned angel magic, and I'll add prayer to that. This is what I said earlier about asking intermediaries for support to work with higher frequencies than our own and ask for their help in bringing these quantum field frequencies into realization. And EFT, emotional freedom technique, is a fabulous tool for just about any presenting issue a client would have. It's wonderful to release blockages, to deal with emotional states, fears. And if any of those come up with the manifesting, it would be a great tool to be able to use just on the spot to release those negative, limiting perceptions and beliefs. Spirit releasement, clearing energy, clearing the vehicle. If the vessel and vehicle isn't whole and intact, or it's being disrupted, what goes out is going to be disrupted potentially as well. And then there's energetic clearing techniques that can be very helpful. I mentioned EFT, Reiki for self-Reiki. I like to Reiki my manifestation prayers that I use. I Reiki those and send them out on the frequency of Reiki. And there's a beautiful technique that was developed by Alice Bailey called a triangle of light, that is an energetic way to do spirit releasement and an energetic way to work through karmic blocks that are in your energy system. And for those of you who are interested, it's on one of my CDs, the Chakra Balancing CD has it. And I'm going to make all my CDs available to you today with the password, so you can just download them for yourself if you want to work with them. And then the chakra balancing, grounding, and cultivating presence. And basically, all of these tools are tools that those of us who are regression therapists and hypnotherapists are going to be using with our clients anyway. And we just have to remember to use them on ourselves, get support on ourselves. Because the stronger and clearer our vehicles are, the more we can support people's entrainment into these higher frequencies as they do the work. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the metaphysics. And this information is what I've sort of just stated from the work that I've been doing in my classes recently, but most of it comes through the book by Sri Aurobindo about his work. And we're going to talk a little bit about the evolutionary pull that is most likely behind everyone's need or desire to manifest. And that evolutionary pull is pretty simply wanting to experience joy, love, and oneness. That's where we're being pulled in terms of our organic development. We're all being pulled towards that oneness and that joy. And whatever level of consciousness we're currently embodying, we can choose goals that will authentically move us towards that joy, love, and oneness. So in your manifesting, include that aspect. Include that you want this to manifest for your evolution and for the evolution of all that are concerned, so that it's a part of that natural pull towards wholeness and oneness. The level of consciousness is paramount to manifesting. And manifesting, consciousness is paramount. The higher the frequency of your consciousness, the closer you are to aligning with the origin or source. The ascended masters of wisdom and adepts have the capacity to align with source, which gives them the capacity to manifest through materialization, water to wine, walking on water, instantaneous healing. All of these miracles are from a different level of consciousness than our 3D reality. They can manifest through 3D reality, but the source is from that very high, pure state of consciousness. And as we awaken and embody our own divinity, our frequencies are more aligned with source, and they're less affected by the 3D reality laws, like gravity, for instance, or like karma, for instance. The act of manifesting becomes more intentional, conscious, and spontaneous when you're at these higher frequencies of consciousness. And then there is the old debate, and many of us probably still have this debate with ourselves, and our clients may have it as well, this whole concept of predestination versus free will. And Sri Aurobindo says it's not either or, it's both and. He says, the debate between predestination or free will and which force directs our lives is resolved when we understand that it is both predestination and free will. Aurobindo explains that the higher our level of consciousness, the more freedom we have to consciously create our reality. Living in the lower levels of consciousness, where we have duality consciousness and conflicts between mind and emotions, it dictates that we are more bound to karma and the life plan for our current lifetime. He goes on to say, the higher we rise in consciousness, the more stable and unbroken the light. From the intuitive sparks to the stable flickering of the overmind, the light becomes more and more homogeneous. One might imagine then that the supramental light is a kind of luminosity, luminous tonality, is utterly still and compact without the tiniest interstice. But remarkably, the quality of the supramental light is very different from the light of other levels of consciousness. It combines both complete stillness and the most rapid movement. Here too, the opposite poles have become integrated. The day that we learn this vibration or this movement to our own matter, we have seized upon the practical secret from the transition from a crude matter to a more subtle matter. And we will likewise have begun to realize the first supramental or glorious body on earth. Sri Aurobindo talks about his own evolution and the evolution of a woman he worked with called the Mother. They had a relationship for many years of exploring consciousness. And what he discovered is after enlightenment comes what's called engoldenment. And this engoldenment is actually bringing spirit into matter. And the body goes through a metamorphosis to vibrate at a completely different frequency. And there have been people through history that are known as spiritual teachers who, when they die, their body doesn't decompose. These people have probably experienced this level of evolution. So he's writing about this, and he worked very hard to manifest in his own life this experience, which began with his physical body right before he died and passed, as did the mother with whom he worked. And the book is a lot about this next layer of evolution that humanity is headed towards. The ascended masters who have accessed this supramental consciousness have the ability to perform instantaneous materializations, dematerializations from what our current reality looks like miracles. All consciousness is power. And the higher we ascend, the greater the power, but also the farther away we are from the earth dimension. Thus, if we wish to apply our manifesting power to the affairs of the world, it must be brought down from one level of the consciousness to another to overcome the determinisms of all intermediary levels before it can reach the depths and manifest as physical matter. This is why spiritualists have never been able to transform life. The source is a supreme consciousness force in the heart of matter without any intermediary. Therefore, it can change everything. The true change of consciousness is one that will change physical conditions in the world and make it into an entirely new creation. For one who sees, there is only an intervention in the determinism of a higher plane and the determinism in a lower plane. The supermind does not upset any existing laws, but simply leaps over them to a dimension where they no longer exist. All of the supposed absolute physical laws in our Earth 3D dimension are coagulated habits, and they can be undone, providing that one is to take another route, and that is to change to a different level of consciousness. So the desire to manifest is a construct of the duality, self and other, on this earth plane. Actively working on the evolutionary path towards awakening to our oneness with Source will raise our frequencies and levels of consciousness and assist us in living in joy, love, and wholeness. A great paradox is that after awakening to our joy, love, and oneness, we experience the perfection of the moment when nothing's missing. And we may still choose to direct the force into manifestations, but will not be compelled to manifest other than what is in the here and now. So, back at the beginning here. One more. Here's some tools for manifesting. Invoke the source and then align and intend to work from as high a level of consciousness and frequency that you can. So you start with that. You connect with the light. You connect with your higher self. You ask for intermediaries to assist you. Your self-awareness and being present is important. Remember that your every thought and feeling is actively manifesting all the time. So watch your thoughts. Take responsibility for what you're putting out into the quantum field. Work with vision boards or art to anchor your intentions. Use healing tools with yourself. If you discover you've got some attitudes or beliefs that aren't healthy for you anymore, work on them, transform them. Work with prayer, angel magic, cosmic marketing, which I will be introducing you to today. Let go and trust. Let the universe do its magic. Live in gratitude and with generosity. And doing rituals and ceremonies and creating altars can be reminders of the spiritual side of life and our connection to it. And commit yourself to spiritual practices to support the evolution of your consciousness, in support of yourself, but also in support of the quantum field and humanity. Many of us have been indoctrinated with this concept of the planetary shift, that there is a shift that we are preparing for, and that this dark night that we're in right now is a dissolution of the old so that the new can be born through it. And this conscious manifesting process, all of these tools can be so supportive in helping that shift take place and helping us evolve together, so that literally this quantum field will, 100th monkey effect, change overnight, potentially, because that's what the theories are. I don't know about you guys, but I'm on board for that. I know I signed up this lifetime for that. So here are some steps for preparing for conscious manifesting. And I would like all of you who want to do this that haven't prepared for today, I ask that you, in my little blurb for preparing, to bring some concepts of what you'd like to manifest. But I'm going to give you a few minutes time now to jot down some statements that would be affirmations for yourself of what you would like to manifest in terms of your work. I'm doing this connected to cosmic marketing, so it has to do with your work today, but you can use these basic tools for any other type of manifesting as well. So take a few minutes and write down for yourself some positive statements, and I'll give you some guidelines in a minute. But the first step is to let there be light, call in the light, bring in the helpers, connect with the force of this supermental or God force. And it begins with an inspiration or an idea that probably comes from God's source. Our ideas come from that. Our creativity comes from that. So the second step is to declare your affirmations. You're aligning with the source. Invoke your higher self. Allow your higher consciousness to create the affirmations rather than your ego-based consciousness. You can refer to that higher self versus the voice of ego. Make sure that your affirmations reflect what you want, not what you don't want. Make them positive and use present tense. Affirm that your goals are manifesting at the right time and way for the highest good of all concerned, and reflect your passion, gratitude, and excitement in your language, and feel the energy and frequency of the intention in your heart. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. 2 or 3 affirmations that you'd like to work with today. When you finish, say them aloud to yourself. You've all got your mics on mute now, so you can do that freely. And see if they make your heart smile. See if they fit. Okay, so put those aside for a moment. And the 4th step is that I will guide you through a hypnosis process to energetically broadcast the intentions to spirit. And this is the last slide for the presentation, which is resources. And I'll put these up at the end for you again after we have our discussion, so you can all see it. But it has a link to my hypnotherapy CDs on my website. You have to have a password to get in. The password is all lowercase, HCH students. I think it's with an S, HCH students. If it doesn't work with an S, try it without an S. And Angel Magic is the book by Damon Rand that I referred to. And then the work of Byron Katie, which you can find online. You can get a synopsis of her work. And then the Sri Aurobindo book. And for those of you who are into spirituality and metaphysics, this book, I mean, I have I'm literally libraries full of books. This is one of the best books I've ever read on consciousness. So I highly recommend you dig into it if you're interested in that topic. It's a really good book. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. And see all of you again. And in this next part, we're going to do some hypnosis. So keep your mics on mute, please, so that you can say your affirmations aloud when we get to them. And find a space where you can sit comfortably and sit back. And if you want to turn down some lights, you're welcome to do that. And when you're sitting comfortably and you're ready, just gently close your eyes. Take a few breaths. And just allow your thoughts to begin to clear as you become present in this moment and settle into your body. With each breath, you expand, moving towards your center. With each breath, you deepen and let go. Your higher self is present, guiding and supporting you through this hypnotic process. Imagine a star of light representing your higher self is above your head. And beams of this light connect you and your higher self to Source throughout the quantum field. The infinite Source and you are one. And in this oneness, you are infinite intelligence, unconditional love, deep peace, harmony, and joy. In your true self, you are what Source is, and Source is expressing through you right now as the complete solutions and manifestations of your present goals. I invite you now to say your goals aloud with heart. You desire a career that is fulfilling, one that brings independence, one that supports living in alignment with your authentic self, one that supports the manifesting of your material needs, your own evolution, and the empowerment and healing and transformation of others. You remember the initial excitement and motivations that moved you to become a regression therapist or a healing practitioner. Access the visions and feelings behind those motivations once again. With your current specific goals in mind, focus on the qualities of the clients you want to manifest into your practice. What are their interests and focuses for their hypnotherapy? How can you serve them in doing the work? What feelings do you experience when you think about these clients? How do you experience having rapport with them and feeling towards them as you work together? Go to a time now when you are interacting with one of these clients. Feel the positive feelings, the mutual empowerment and love between you. Feel this love in your heart and imagine that it circulates in a growing spiral originating from your heart chakra. It spirals until it's as large as your body. It continues to expand to fill the room. It grows larger, expanding beyond your workspace, out into your community. You call upon your spirit guides to support its movement and connections with clients who want to do the work. Through your loving intentions and the spiraling energy moving outwards, you are sending out a call from your heart to the hearts of all the souls who can be assisted through your work. You offer support for their highest good, magnetizing this thought with this spiraling energy, moving out through the quantum field. Imagine that it vibrates with the frequency of the supramental consciousness of Source. Imagine the spiral is the color of the rainbow, the 7 colors of the chakras. Each color represents the vibration of the type of healing that each client needs. The red flows to those who need support with issues of health, safety, and survival. The orange connects with those clients who need support with their creativity, procreativity, and their abilities to share intimacy. The yellow spirals out to those who need healing of their sense of personal empowerment and the capacity to empower others. The green moves directly to the hearts of people who are in need of heart opening or healing from emotional wounds of the past so that they can give and receive love. The flow and vibration of blue moves to the throat chakras of those who want and need authentic communication and the empowered and creative personal expression in their lives. The purple flows to the third eye of those who are ready to open intuitively and to work with their greater knowing. All of the colors are vibrating with the luminescence of the white light, which activates the soul energy above their bodies, drawing these people towards your loving support and care. This energy that reaches them communicates how you will make a difference for them and how the work contributes to their empowerment, their well-being, and their evolution. Imagine now just how their healing unfolds. You call to the people who value and honor the work. You call to those who are in need of support and who are ready to do the work. Feel and see yourself drawing these clients to you. They come at the right time for their and your highest good. You are most magnetic when you focus on how you assist them. As you continue to circulate the spiral of energy, ask your higher self to let go of any unconscious blocks, fears, or neediness. You surrender to manifesting whomever and whatever can best be served by your work and contributions. Continue to energize and expand the spiraling energy from your heart. You thank in advance your clients and their guides and higher selves for the gifts of working with them. The spiral continues to expand through the county, the state, the continent, and through the world. The benefits of your work galvanizes the evolution of planetary healing and consciousness. Imagine that as people learn from this work and connect with you for healing, they are like stars lighting up. See hundreds and then thousands of stars lighting up around you. Imagine lines of this spiraling light moving between you and all the people this work serves. The spiral continues to touch more and more people who recognize that they choose to work with you. Observe the healings and transformations that your clients make in their lives. Feel the gratitude and joy of doing this work for the abundance it brings you on all levels. Thank your guides and higher self, and the guides and higher selves of those of your present and future clients for the opportunity to be a part of their healing and their evolutionary journey. With a sense of joyous well-being, you look forward to the connections you make in person, by phone, and online that bring these clients your way. Filled with gratitude, you release this manifestation process into the quantum field. Let it go. And with a full and trusting heart, you return to the room when you are ready, feeling calm, feeling refreshed and renewed. Okay, you can turn your mics back on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful. Unbelievably wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my joy.
Magnificent. Magnificent, Holly.
Yes,
That was awesome. Just awesome.
yes.
Thank you.
Great. Fantastic.
You guys can have a recording of it.
Oh,
Do it again.
wow. Wow.
I had to amend it slightly for this group, but it's on my, I have a recording that is called The Ultimate Hypnotherapist that I made for my students to help them with skill rehearsal, to integrate what they've learned in the 200 hours that we spend together. And I include in there visualizations, cosmic marketing, manifesting techniques to help them get started. And in my work with my interns, and I have actually 2 interns I think are here today that are postgraduates doing service work in our low-fee humanity clinic, and many of them are doing past life work in the clinic. On a weekly basis, we practice cosmic marketing together. And I will often be the one to facilitate it, but I also ask my students to contribute. And we don't necessarily follow the same protocol that I just outlined for you with this process, but it's more of an organic prayer, affirmation, acknowledgement of the honor of doing this work and asking that we be of service and to call the people that we can serve to us. And that's basically how I do my marketing for that whole community of people that come to do work through cosmic marketing. So I know it works, especially when you align yourself with these high frequencies. You know, I mean, I'm shaking right now having just done this with you guys. I know that the frequencies are shifting for all of us, just tuning into these affirmations and these potential states that we're evolving towards. So I want to hear from you now. I want to hear about your journeys with manifesting. I want to hear questions if you have them. Certainly comments are welcome. The rest of our time will be about you. So just, I can't see all of it. So do use that little reaction button to put your hand up if you want to communicate, so I can know that you're there. Anybody? Anybody have hand up? Okay, Virginia, you can start. Oops, you got to get all your mics back on, guys, because I don't want to tell everybody to. put your-
My question is really quite brief. You talk about you do your manifestation protocol, and then you let it go. So I'd like you, if you would, to speak a little bit on what do you mean by let it go? Do we only do it the one time? We don't do it every day?
Well, you can do it as much as you want, but if you really have your heart into it, you'll probably trust that you just need to do it once and let it go. What you don't want to do is worry about it, ruminate, tweak it, say, oh God, I should have added this. I mean, you don't want to go into that rumination state because that's the ego, that's the inner critic coming into it. You want to just trust. Now, having said that, if you decide to look into this angel magic process that I talked about, that requires a 11-day ritual. You do angel magic for 11 days. That's part of the commitment, is you show up, and it's a very short ritual after you learn it. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes to do it, but it does require that you show up and do this 11 days in a row. And it's quite lovely because you get to commune with the angels, whatever that means for you. But you're developing some wonderful energetic connections with these very enlightened beings. And there are 72 angels in this book, 72 angels of magic that you can choose from, and they all have specialties. So you might learn about different angels when you have different manifesting needs. Play with them that way. Greg, you had your hand up, I believe.
I just wanted to support what you're doing as a whole action of devotion.
Mm.
The whole thing that you're teaching us and everyone, just it embraces the love of God in yourself for the world. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Greg.
you so much.
Well said.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments or questions about manifesting?